there are no hackers, there are only spies. Because hacking is nothing more than the necessary evolution of espionage. As we stopped storing everything in those ridiculous file cabinets we all remember, in manila folders that would get dusty, and when you finally go retrieve the file, you'd have to blow it off, with people who were the guardians of this information, who were the only people who could find stuff for you. And we started storing it in a much more efficient way, in computer systems. And then we decided that this information is best used if we can share it and collaborate on it rapidly. So let's network everything. And then realize that some people don't work in the office, or can't make it to the office, or have to work in the field, or now want to work from home. So let's connect it all to the internet. Basically the least secure creation in history. So we can share the information. Well, spies no longer had to steal paper. They had to evolve. They had to get smart. And they've always been the best at taking information. So of course they were going to figure this out before anyone else. They started hacking. And they became the hackers. The hackers, the people who were interested in mischief and penetration and defeating security for the knowledge part of it, or the challenge of it. Well, they all joined the cybersecurity companies. Most of the hackers I know from back in the day are all working for the big cybersecurity companies because you get to do the same sort of fun stuff, the same challenge, but you make a lot more money and you're not likely to get arrested. And Hollywood has completely ruined our entire idea of the hacker because they're stuck, except for some new shows that are coming out that are starting to get a little better, but they're stuck on this vision of the hacker, right? Big, heavyset guy, sitting in his mom or grandma's basement. It's always like that. It's always dark down there. He's pounding away at a keyboard. You don't see the screen because, and this is what Hollywood told me when we were filming Breach, we don't like showing screens because audiences aren't really smart enough to understand what's going on and we don't want to lose them. So you don't even know what he's doing as he's pounding away on the keyboard. He hits his energy drink, he pounds some bad junk food, and then what does he do? He hits one key and he says, "I'm in." Like magic. Harry Potter may as well have just crossed the screen with his wand, waved it and said, "I'm in too." It doesn't work like that. Because spies aren't just attacking systems. They're not just magically typing keys and somehow finding their way into computer systems. They're attacking people. And that's why the hackers, all of these major breaches, they're not these people sitting in a basement or some random person somewhere. They're spies, and they're often military, industrial, complex, well-funded, well-executed, with the best technology and the best training and the best know-how. And they are coming after your data. Because cyber espionage follows the spy playbook, the traditional spy playbook. Think about it. Think of any one of your favorite James Bond movies, right? What are the sort of things the spies are doing? Well, we know they steal, theft, right? Spies want information and they take it back to whoever their employer is, usually some other country, or it could be a rival company, and they use it for that benefit to make decisions. Disruption. To disrupt information, to change the way we trust information. And we saw a lot of that very recently with the attack on the DNC and the Hillary campaign, which really was about disrupting the American trust in our political system. More than anything else. I think that's what the Russians were really after. Sabotage, to destroy. Cyber attacks, I like to say cyber attacks versus saying hacking, because these are spies, not hackers. But cyber attacks can be used to attack our critical infrastructure. And finally, revenge. Cyber attacks can certainly be used for revenge. So let's start with revenge. And let's go a little bit back in time. Let's go to November 2014, when all this nonsense started, when all of these big breaches really started. With this company that you all know, out in Culver City, Los Angeles, called Sony. Sony employees showed up one morning and they had this really freaky screen on all their computers. This was before anybody really was calling it ransomware, but it sort of was a ransomware attack, even though they didn't want to ransom. And it was this skull face with these freaky skull, skeletal fingers and all red in the background. And of course they said, "We are the guardians of peace." Right, that made a lot of sense. Let's put a nasty, freaky skeleton and then call ourselves the Guardian of Peace. They had locked all their system and encrypted their data, and Sony's reaction, because this was early, this was before all these breaches, was to shut everything down. Now why? Why was this happening? Well, we know now, because the FBI did a lengthy investigation, that this was North Korea. And we suspect that North Korea was a little angry because Sony was about to put out the movie The Interview. Remember that? And The Interview is a really bad comedy about two of the biggest idiots on Earth who somehow infiltrate North Korea and successfully assassinate the crazy tyrant who runs that country. And when you are a crazy tyrant who runs a country and you have some estimates, 3,000 people who work for you, who are all cyber spies, just sitting around in a nice air-conditioned warehouse, getting a better salary than most people in the entire country, they can attack whoever you want. And when he gets angry because he hears, potentially from an insider at Sony, that they're going to release this movie, he sets them all to attack. And Sony gets locked down. For weeks, they couldn't do anything. And then, even more frightening, the revenge part comes on. And this is where every executive in the world should have been on notice that this is our future. Because all of their email was dumped on Pastebin. Open sharing site on the web where all the reporters in the world were going through it gleefully and learning all sorts of things that, of course, Sony wouldn't want anyone to see. And lest you think, oh, naughty Sony, think about the dumbest email you've ever written in the last 8 to 10 years. And now imagine that everyone in the world is learning about it on the nightly news. That's a bit how they felt. Now, while this was happening, of course, the North Koreans weren't satisfied with just embarrassing Sony. Now, this was revenge. And so they left all of these forensic bombs, which is the best way I can explain it, cyber terrorism, cyber attacks, behind in the systems. They managed to infiltrate 50 networks from the US all the way up through the UK before they were found out, before they launched their Guardians of Peace freaky screen. Sony, not really having a plan for what to do and shutting down all their networks, saved them from these things being detonated. This would have detonated and then wiped all the data in a way that they would have never been able to recover it. One of the reasons is the FBI was pretty certain that this was North Korea, and of course it's always impossible to 100% prove this stuff, but pretty sure, on 99% certain, was because in 2016, only a few years later, the exact same attack was used against South Korea. And there, they were able to infiltrate 140,000 South Korean computers. That's 160 agencies and businesses throughout South Korea. And the only reason that it didn't work, they were going to detonate it all at the same time and basically bring down the critical infrastructure of South Korea, is because they got greedy. They were trying to scoop up more and more networks before they hit the button, the kill switch. And the South Koreans learned about it and were able to foil the dastardly plot before it could happen. But this is the future. These are the attacks that can happen. And this is why cybersecurity has become one of the most important counter-espionage tools that is out there.